SEO City Shipbuilding will soon commence production of naval vessels, following the completion of the construction of an Australian vessel by Philippine builder Austal for a $20 million shipyard expansion. The company's expanded facility now has a permit to build naval vessels, which will pave the way for the construction of the OPV offshore patrol vessels that will soon be commissioned for the Philippines. The expansion has also created hundreds of jobs for the residents. Our Beaumont shipyard is a masterpiece. PCE Company President Wayne Murray said a few years ago on Wednesday, July 24, 2019, that the launch of the John Rothwell Assembly Bay, the company's largest shipbuilder by volume to date, all 419 passenger vehicles, 109 M ferries for the Norwegian Fjord Line, are underway at the John Rothwell Assembly Bay. Speaking at the launch on Wednesday, DND Department of National Defense Secretary Dylan Lorenzana confirmed that the government is keen to acquire the naval vessels that will soon be manufactured in Balamban, Cebu. He said that they are considering two financing options for the government procurement through a deal or a bidding process. The first one, he said, is the most feasible because it is fast and easy. Austal previously expressed interest in building 6 OPVs for the Philippine Navy as part of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization program. Lorenzana said the government is considering signing a P30 billion contract for the 6 OPVs by the end of this year. Once the contract is signed, he expects the delivery of the first vessel within 2 years. Austal Shipyard, located in the western industrial area of Balamban, Cebu, is ready to build other Navy vessels for export. In light of the increase in the defense budget for fiscal year 2024 last year by the Senate, led by Senator Juan Miguel Zuber, there is also an increase in the Philippine Coast Guard budget of a total of 2.8 billion Philippine pesos that will be allocated to the PCG on top of the approved budget they will receive for fiscal year 2025. 2.5 billion Philippine pesos will be used for the initial payment of 3 new offshore patrol vessels that will be acquired from an Australian shipbuilder. The Philippines is planning to consider purchasing 2 Guardian-class patrol vessels from Australia, which will further enhance the PCG's capabilities. The Philippine government is also acquiring 40 locally built patrol vessels to support the PCG's maritime defense and rescue operations. The acquisitions collectively aim to enhance PCG's operational capabilities, particularly in maritime security, law enforcement, search and rescue, and environmental protection within its maritime jurisdiction. With the new OPV facility to be built at the Balamban Cebu Shipyard, measuring 120 meters long, 43 meters wide and 41 meters high, designed to accommodate large vessel projects for overall final equipment assembly and painting capacity, Murray said the new production base, which increases the company's footprint in Cebu by 300%, will mean more projects for the company, including passenger vessels, offshore crew transfer vessels, PCG vessels, and other naval vessels. The vessels offered by the company to the Philippine government are larger variants of the Cape-class patrol vessels used by the Royal Australian Navy and Australian Border Force. Company Chairman John Rothwell is optimistic about the Philippines' potential to design and build the best vessels in the world. Naval vessels like they do in the United States and Australia, we have the opportunity to pursue many commercial and naval opportunities, he said, citing the OPV for the Philippine Navy. The company's investment includes the reclamation of an additional 20,000 square meters of waterfront land and the development of a new handstand and mobile facility that will allow more larger vessels to be designed, built and maintained in the Philippines. The shipbuilder employs more than 900 engineers, design staff, skilled workers and production staff at the Balamban facility, about 90% of whom are Filipinos. The company's chief executive, David Singleton, said the expansion is part of the company's ongoing strategy to regionalize its manufacturing base for commercial vessels. SIU Shipyard, which began operations in 2012, has delivered 17 vessels to 10 operators in 9 countries, adding great value to the local community and the greater Philippine economy by creating local jobs and supply chain opportunities. Singleton said. Beaumont Mayor Alex Bing said the new investment will bring more revenue to the local government and jobs for Cebuanos, noting that AEL's operations in Balamban have elevated its economic status from being just a fishing and farming town. Austal started with just 30 workers in Baloma, but that number has grown to nearly 1,000. The west coast town is also home to Japanese shipbuilder Tsunesi, which produces bulk carriers for export. It is worth noting that the 3 new offshore patrol vessels will be acquired from an Australian shipbuilder, Austal, and will be built at their Balamban, Cebu facility. The first vessel will be delivered within 18 months of the issuance of the notice to proceed with procurement as usual by the Philippine government. Max Defense Philippines is confident that Austal is ready to start the project as soon as it is awarded to them, because they have a ready-made design that they can use. We are confident that Austal will reuse their original 83M offshore patrol vessel proposal that was submitted to the Philippine Navy a few years ago, which was later rejected due to cost escalation. That design is now being marketed by Austal as the 83-meter offshore patrol. Austal will most likely downsize the design by removing Navy-specific weapons and sensor systems, such as 76mm and 30mm guns, and surface air search radars, and replacing them with more Coast Guard-specific systems. Based on our calculations, 2.5 billion Philippine pesos is enough for a 15% down payment for the 3 ships, which we estimate to cost less than 17 billion Philippine pesos. This is a good start for the Philippine Coast Guard to build a larger fleet of ships, preferably locally built, and increase their numbers to meet its target. This breakdown reflects the PCG's strategy to modernize its fleet with new construction and accelerate capability upgrades by purchasing used equipment. Senator J.V. Ejercito confirmed that the PCG is exploring the acquisition of used assets from various countries to rapidly increase its maritime capabilities. Potential sources for these used assets include France, Spain, and Japan. This is aimed at increasing the PCG's presence and capabilities in the West Philippine Sea. The armed forces of the Philippines and its modernization efforts are now in Horizon 3, where various projects are either being planned or in the process of being realized. One of which is the Philippine Navy, which is looking to acquire platforms capable enough to be a deterrent, such as submarines and ships that will replace some of the World War II-era ships, such as the Offshore Patrol Vessels OPV Off-Road, whose program calls for at least 6 units. Now the plan to build the offshore patrol vessels is getting more known in the mainstream media, when the Secretary of National Defense, Mr. Dylan Lorenzano, surprisingly revealed that the Philippine Navy will be taking over many operations from that perspective alone. This initial announcement was met with both enthusiasm and apprehension. That is, while this may increase the pride of the Filipino workers in the shipyard, where they will be building operations for the country and its national interest, the desire of the Department of Defense to carry out this project can also be a good thing, considering that this is one of the plans that must be prioritized by the Philippine Navy, as it will determine the patrol capabilities of the Navy fleet in the future. As discussed earlier, these vessels will be made of steel and will be manufactured locally through their shipyard in Balamban, Cebu. We will see if it fulfills the role that the supplier envisions on their website, which is not just limited to maritime patrol roles such as anti-piracy and anti-smuggling operations in areas like Sulu, or interdiction in the open seas in areas like the West Philippine Sea. The locally made patrol vessels are also useful for search and rescue, as well as humanitarian assistance and disaster response in case of disasters.